One of the strangest questions in human history is also one of the simplest. Who was the first person to get high? Think about it for a moment. Every civilization throughout history has had to discover things from scratch. Someone had to discover fire, someone had to discover cooking, and someone had to discover which plants could heal and which plants could kill. At some point, someone also discovered cannabis. The funny thing is that cannabis was not originally valuable because it could get people high. For thousands of years, humans used varieties of the cannabis plant to make rope, clothing, textiles, paper, oil, and food. People were already familiar with the plant long before they understood its psychoactive effects. So, how did they discover them? The truth is that nobody knows. There are no historical records identifying the first person who experimented with cannabis, and the discovery likely happened long before written language even existed. By the time civilization began keeping records, cannabis was already being used in different parts of the world. Historians and archaeologists can only make educated guesses. One possibility is that someone simply ate it. Early humans constantly experimented with plants, berries, roots, and seeds. Most of the food we eat today exists because countless people throughout history were willing to try things and see what happened. Sometimes they discovered a new food source. Sometimes they discovered medicine. Occasionally, they probably discovered something much more interesting. Another possibility involves fire. Imagine a group of people sitting around a campfire thousands of years ago. Nearby, cannabis plants are accidentally thrown into the flames or used as fuel. As the smoke drifts throughout the air, people begin to notice unusual effects. They feel relaxed, their perception changes, and they find themselves laughing more than usual. Before long, someone connects the experience to the plant. It sounds ridiculous, but many important discoveries happen through accident rather than careful planning. What's fascinating is that archaeologists have found evidence suggesting ancient cultures intentionally burned cannabis during ceremonies and rituals. In Western China, researchers discovered ancient burial sites containing traces of cannabis that appears to have been deliberately burned more than 2,000 years ago. By that point, people clearly understood that the smoke produced effects beyond simply creating a pleasant smell. Whatever the original discovery looked like, humans had long since figured out that the plant could alter consciousness. But perhaps the more interesting question is not who discovered cannabis. Perhaps the more interesting question is how humans discovered anything at all. When you look around the modern world, almost everything we use began with curiosity. Coffee was once an unfamiliar berry, chocolate was once an unknown plant, tea was once just another leaf. At some point, someone had to be the first person willing to experiment. Human history is filled with people asking a simple question: what happens if I try this? Sometimes the answer led to medicine, sometimes it led to agriculture, sometimes it led to technology, and occasionally it led to an entirely new way of experiencing reality. The person who first discovered the effects of cannabis probably had no idea they were making history. They were not trying to build an industry worth billions of dollars, and they certainly were not conducting scientific research. They were simply another curious human being exploring the world around them. And perhaps that's what makes the story so interesting. Many of history's most important discoveries were not made by geniuses working in laboratories. They were made by ordinary people paying attention to unexpected results. We'll probably never know who the first person was to get high. Their name has been lost to history and their story disappeared thousands of years ago. But we do know one thing. Without curiosity, it never would have happened. If there is a common thread connecting fire, agriculture, medicine, coffee, flight, electricity, and countless other discoveries, it is this. Human progress often begins with someone asking, I wonder what happens if.